Okay folks, so this is our last lesson on the respiratory system. It is the mandatory practical that goes with it, and it's going to be asked in one of two ways. We are going to look at the effect of exercise, and one of the options in the questions will be on breathing rate and the other option is on pulse rate. The method is pretty much the same for both of them, except obviously the measurement is different. So this is roughly page 147 of your notes book. I would highly recommend that you actually do the collection of data. So if we were in school, we'd be in our PE kit and we'd be out on a hockey pitch somewhere and we would actually be physically doing this. So if you have to measure the effect of exercise on your breathing rate, what would you do? Have a think. So it obviously goes without saying that you'd have to do exercise. That's the first and foremost. But you have to have a comparison to the exercise. So we take what's called our resting rate. And we are going to do this a number of times. We're going to then go do some exercise. We're going to increase how strenuous the exercise is, and we're going to measure our breathing rate after each one. So I'm going to play you this. He is a very angry Scottish person. I don't know why, but here we go.
Right! So what do you reckon goes on in your lungs when you exercise? Your lungs are a bit of genius. They're designed to collect invisible fuel that's found in the air, and that's oxygen. As we breathe in, air travels down the trachea, bronchus, bronchi, to the tiny bronchial tubes. And the whole point of this is to get fresh air into the alveoli. These are microscopic air sacs that are so tiny we're going to have to get a little bit closer. Whoa! So how does the outside air get inside? The alveoli have incredibly thin walls, so those oxygen molecules can just diffuse across them and into the blood vessels that are crammed around. At the same time, your blood gets rid of carbon dioxide, which is a waste product made when your body burns oxygen. Well, that's all very well, but what happens when you exercise? Come on, get moving. When you exercise, your body might want 15 times more oxygen. That's a hell of a rise in fuel consumption. So your lungs have to breathe deeper, pulling in more air. And faster, replacing the air more often. Until the muscles that cause our lungs to expand and contract just can't go any faster. That's why athletes can breathe faster than unfit people. Their diaphragms and the muscles between their ribs are stronger. See, it's all down to exercise. Can you stop that heavy breathing now? It's freaking me out.
Okay, so there we have an angry Scottish person in the morning. So in terms of the things that we are going to need, you can use a pulse monitor, but it's not going to help you because we are doing breathing rate. So you definitely will need a timer on your watch. And what we will be doing is we will be measuring our resting rate. So sit down, get comfy, get your timer. You're going to measure your resting rate 3 times and then you're going to calculate the average. You are then going to, you can do the standing up in your own house before you go up outside. So we calculate average. You're going to get your breathing rate when you stand up. You are going to get your breathing rate after you do some walking. So go for a walk for 5 minutes. You're going to do it for walking and then you're going to do it after running. Now, what might not be clear from the tables is your breathing rate is obviously 1 breath is the inhale and the exhale. After the running, you will measure it every minute until your breathing rate is back to your resting. So you go in, do your exercise, 5-minute run, come back, measure your breathing rate for 30 seconds and then 30 seconds and double it and then measure again. But you're going to measure it every minute until it's back to resting. Okay, so that will allow you to collect a complete set of data. Now you have a little table like this. It's coming up here. So this is your resting. So you're going to get your average of that. You're going to have your breathing rate when you're standing. We are going to go on your table in your book just has walking and running, and you are going to measure until your breathing rate is back to resting once you get finished your running. Okay. Now your tables or your results should be expressed in either a table or a bar chart. And I'm going to give you a help. So one of the questions the SEC likes to ask is, what's your average breathing rate? So the average breathing rate is roughly 17 breaths a minute. Okay, so 17 is the magic number. So you can see where you rate, and depending on how fit or not fit you are, we will do between 12 to 20 breaths a minute, but this average is one that they like to ask if they're going to ask it. Okay, so in terms of what the result should look like, and obviously it's going to be personal for you, but there'll be 3 parts to it: the rest, the exercise, the recovery. So it's going to be low breaths at rest, it's going to increase as you do exercise, and once you start to recover, it would decrease until it goes back to resting. And obviously if you are unfit, you will have a much higher curve versus somebody that's very fit will have a much lower curve. Okay, so this would be an unfit individual, this would be a fit individual. And that is that. Now, in terms of why does our breathing rate, if we're doing exercise, why does our breathing rate increase? So you need to have a think back to all the things that we were doing when we were talking about breathing. So first and foremost, the level of carbon dioxide increases. Your pH of your blood will decrease. Your medulla oblongata makes your diaphragm and in your intercostal muscles contract, and you're going to breathe deeper.